Hi there. My name is Ollie Burns and I perform on wrestling shows as Priscilla, Queen of the Ring. And today I'm going to be talking about basic match building. Now, if you've been training for a while, you've probably found that in your wrestling class there is a pretty typical way of building matches. Now, in your early days, it's important that the first thing you do is learn your trainer's style of match. This point in your career is going to be the one time where it's really easy to gain this kind of knowledge without having to go around questioning people and doing lots of studying to do it. So be sure to put the effort in to learn the style of match that your trainer likes to coach. Even if it's not the style that you necessarily wanted to do when you first started training, you will still need to know a variety of ways of putting together matches as you face a variety of opponents over the years. So get this style down first. But now that you've got that style down, perhaps you're feeling a little bit frustrated that you would like to learn different ways of putting together matches, but you're not too sure where to start. Well, don't worry, because this is the video for you. I'm going to be taking you through a little trick that I taught myself early days so that I could pick up on different ways of building matches nice and quickly. The trick, essentially, is to study. If you pick out a performer that you particularly admire and then watch a series of their matches in a row, you will normally find that the way their match builds tends to have a similar pace each time. And in fact, if you really break down a series of matches by the same performer, you may be shocked to see that those matches build almost identically every time. And this is because people that really know their craft will begin to learn different ways of putting together the order of their matches to get the desired response every time. Now, rather than trying for 10 years to put things in a different order and finding some things that work and some things that don't, there is a nice, easy way to pick up these hints and tricks very quickly. What I did in the early days was to get myself a Word document or a piece of paper and have it to one side when I'm watching a match that I particularly enjoy. What you need to do is write out the order of spots as they happen. Doing this on a Word document is particularly useful because once you have the order of spots with a different paragraph for each thing that happens, you're then able to highlight as to whether it ended with the heel on top or the face. You can then take a glance to see a natural flow. You might find that in certain instances there's a big block of the same colour as the face gets a series of spots that they end up on top of. Just the same, you will find that there are portions of the match where the heel constantly ends up on top. And then you may find a portion which is more back and forth, or you may be surprised to see that even though the action feels like it's back and forth, it's still ending up in the favour of one or the other performer. This can give you a basic idea on how to build the structure of your match. If you do this with a series of matches with similar performers, you will probably find that big moments happen in similar points. A trick that I used to do would be to take one of these matches and to write out all the spots that happened and to highlight them as to who ends up on top. Once I had done this, I would then get myself and a fellow performer that I was likely to be having a match with very soon. I then looked through all the spots in this match and I would list out all the moves that the heel did and all the moves that the face did. This way, I would know the level of moves that I need to have at each point of the match in order to replicate the same kind of feel. I can then list moves that I have and my opponent has in order to match the same kind of moves that were performed during the match itself. I'm not saying that you need to go and steal all of the moves that your favourite wrestler does. In fact, I'm not saying that at all. A key to success in wrestling is to be unique, so you do need to have your own moveset. But if you have moves that are at a similar level, say for example they use a hip toss and you want to use an arm drag, then you can safely replicate their hip toss with your arm drag and know that you're going to get a similar reaction without changing the overall feel of the match itself. Now, you may be fond of doing combos or say 2 or 3 moves in a row. When you're going through this process and you're trying to replicate the feel of the match that you've watched, then you do not want to be replacing one move that wrestler A did with 3 moves that you do. This is because that will change the overall pace of the match altogether, and it is very likely that you will get a different response from the audience. So if wrestler A uses one move in their comeback, then you need to use one move in your comeback. Keep it at the forefront of your mind that you're trying to replicate the same kind of pace and feel of the moves that they did at each stage. Once you have your list of moves and your opponent's list of moves, you should be able to insert them into the same spot order that you had written out in the first place. If you can then use your imagination and walk through that match in your mind's eye, you should find that the match you have overall has a similar feel and a similar pace to the match that you took to begin with. If you have trouble envisioning that in your mind, then provided you're on your own and no one's watching, it's okay to pull out a couple of action figures and walk through it. The important thing is that you begin to learn how to order your spots in a different way than that you've been taught in the first place. If you're able to do this with a variety of matches, and I do recommend you do this with a variety of matches, then you should find over time that it becomes easier and easier to put these matches together in your head without needing the prompt sheet of following somebody else's match in the first place. By doing this, you can begin to learn the style that other wrestlers portray when you're maybe not able to learn it directly from the people around you. And I like to think of it like, rather than putting the pressure on myself for planning a match, I'm then letting Eddie Guerrero plan the match for me. So this takes the pressure off of me, and it takes the pressure off my opponent when it comes to coming up with a match that will really hit home and really get a good response. And I am then able to put my efforts into delivering good character work and great manoeuvres live on the show, instead of worrying in the back of my head as to whether or not the match is going to get over. Because at the end of the day, I've seen evidence firsthand that my match is going to work because somebody else planned it for me. So there you have it. Those are my tips on how to learn planning new match structures. I hope this video has been useful. I have been Ollie Burns. Please be sure to subscribe for future content as you continue to study the theory of wrestling.